Have you ever woken up, looked around at your life, and felt, well, unseen? Like the world is maybe a bit dull, even when you're surrounded by people and you just can't shake this quiet, sort of suffocating fog whispering, is this all there is?
No.
That subtle, unsettling question isn't just a fleeting thought. For many, it's the quiet beginning of what we're exploring today, the midlife crisis. But here on the deep dive, we're not just, defining it, we're reframing it entirely. This isn't necessarily a breakdown to be avoided, but maybe a profound turning point, a kind of sacred invitation to a new understanding. Our deep dive today is entirely based on Anthony Abbin's really insightful book, Midlife Crisis Is Real, The Silent Breakdown, The Spiritual Awakening, and The Road Back to You. So our mission is to unpack what this midlife moment truly means, far beyond the old stereotypes, the sports cars and impulsive decisions. We'll explore how it can actually be a sacred invitation for profound transformation, maybe a new fire igniting within you. And look, this isn't exclusively for people in their 40s or 50s.
If you've reached the middle of any significant life journey, a marriage, a career, a calling, even a faith walk, and found yourself wondering, okay, what now? Then this deep dive is definitely for you. As Abbin puts it so powerfully, you are not crazy, you are not lazy, and you are not lost beyond repair. You are, in fact, being summoned. That breakdown you might be feeling, it could actually be the doorway.
That's exactly right. And the core of this experience, what Abbin calls the unspoken ache, it isn't some dramatic explosion of emotion usually. It's more of a quiet, almost insidious disquiet. It's like a hidden burnout, a deep emotional fatigue, maybe a growing awareness of unfulfilled dreams. It's less a sudden collapse and really more a gradual erosion of contentment.
It's incredibly relatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, think about Sarah from the book, successful marketing executive, late 30s. From the outside, she seemingly had it all. Great career, loving family, nice home. Yet underneath that polished surface, this quiet unease had settled in. The thrill of achievements kind of faded. Routines felt constricting. And she'd stare at her reflection, wondering if this was really, the sum of her existence. No sudden breakdown, just that persistent whisper for something more.
And this isn't confined by geography or culture at all. Consider Kenji, a 48-year-old architect in Tokyo. Meticulously climbed the corporate ladder, designed impressive buildings. He had success, family, respect, yet this gnawing emptiness crept in at night. The blueprints that once fueled him now just drained him. He'd gaze out from his high-rise, not really at his creations, but at distant mountains, longing for connection to something deeper, more fundamental. His egg was a slow internal fade, transcending his outward success.
Then there's Maria, 45, mother of 3 in São Paulo. Her days were a whirlwind, family, church, a real pillar of her community. But as her children grew and got more independent, an unexpected silence started to emerge in her life. It led her to ask, who am I beyond these roles, wife and mother? What are my own dreams?
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these diverse stories, different cultures, different socioeconomic backgrounds, they all illustrate that the middle isn't strictly about chronological age. It's much more about a pivotal internal juncture, right? A point where your internal landscape shifts and the old maps just don't seem to serve you anymore. It's a really universal human experience.
And the data emphatically backs this up. Psychologists have even given it a name, the U-curve of happiness. It essentially shows that global life satisfaction tends to dip pretty sharply in our 40s and early 50s before it starts to climb again later in life. In fact, a 2024 study found a staggering 81% of millennials surveyed felt they couldn't even afford a traditional midlife crisis. Wow. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the deep internalized struggle many feel due to financial pressure.
And we're seeing an even earlier onset for some people. There's this emerging trend of Gen Z, still in their early 20s, experiencing what some are calling an early midlife crisis. A January 2025 report indicated only 31% of Gen Z employees felt holistically healthy. They're grappling with job and financial stress that really mirrors the emotional landscape we traditionally associate with midlife.
So how does this ache typically manifest itself? One huge way is burnout, but it's not always like a frantic meltdown. Sometimes it's the polished professional in a crisp suit, mentally counting steps to the exit during a board meeting. Or maybe it's the busy parent endlessly scrolling through their phone, wondering why life feels like this endless loop of laundry and bills. This kind of burnout often dresses in competent smiles for the photos, but inside, you're just running on fumes.
The statistics are pretty stark. A 2025 report found workplace burnout affecting 82% of employees. And middle managers reported significantly higher rates, 43% compared to executives. Abbin even points to the biblical prophet Elijah, who, right after this monumental spiritual victory, just collapsed under a broom tree, begging God to take his life. It really illustrates that success doesn't immunize you. In fact, success without intentional renewal can actually accelerate exhaustion and spiritual depletion.
And then there were the unfulfilled dreams. Abbin calls them unopened boxes in the attic of the heart. The manuscript never finished, the business never started, the mission trip postponed year after year. Each abandoned dream becomes this subtle sadness that just accumulates. But the book offers a powerful antidote, the biblical concept of lament, like David's Psalms, right? It's this profound human practice of honest, gut-level outpouring of pain and disappointment. Acknowledging it fully rather than stuffing it down, that can be incredibly healing.
Then there's emotional fatigue, which is different from just being physically tired. You can sleep 8 hours and still wake up weary, like deep in your bones. It's a deep, soul-level exhaustion, often caused by the invisible losses that accumulate over time. The fading of youthful ideals, the quiet dissolution of friendships, realizing some prayers will get a different answer than you expected. Like Job's profound, invisible losses in the Bible, these subtly diminish us. And just as Jesus asked the blind man, "What do you want me to do for you?" God invites specificity in our pain. Before the healing comes the naming of the pain.
And gosh, this ache is so heavily amplified by the social media mirage, isn't it? Scrolling through those curated highlight reels makes you wonder why your own spark feels so dim. But we have to remember, social platforms are billboards, not diaries. People rarely post the arguments they had with their spouse or the panic attacks in the grocery aisle. Comparing your behind-the-scenes footage with someone else's edited trailer will always breed discontent.
Yeah, Abbin reminds us that comparison is an identity thief. It creates these false ceilings on your potential, making you feel inadequate, or false floors that breed this kind of hollow pride. As the Apostle Paul warned the Corinthians, when we measure ourselves by ourselves, we derail the honest self-discovery this midlife moment is actually inviting you into.
Okay, let's unpack this. With all these manifestations of the unspoken ache, how do we even begin to address this quiet, pervasive feeling that something isn't quite right?
Well, from a spiritual lens, Abbin argues the midlife ache isn't God punishing you, it's God purifying your purpose. He compares it to those biblical wilderness experiences, Israel in the desert, Jonah in the fish's belly, seeds doing hidden work underground, caterpillars dissolving into liquid before becoming butterflies. These aren't just religious stories, they're archetypal human journeys where discomfort is actually a necessary stage for profound transformation. These experiences dismantle identities built on performance and applause, inviting you back to your true identity, your inherent worth as a child of God, which actually predates any resume or role you've ever held.
Wow, that reframes things dramatically. So practically speaking, how do we start to engage with this? The book suggests some powerful diagnostic questions for the soul, like, when was the last time I felt truly alive and why? What secret sadness keeps resurfacing in my thoughts? And how would I define success if no one else had an opinion? Simple questions, maybe, but they can cut really deep.
And for actionable steps you can take, like this week, Abbin encourages you to write a one-sentence summary of what feels wrong right now, because precision really precedes clarity. Then, share what feels wrong with one trusted person, because he emphasizes that confession is truly community in practice. Schedule a health check, as stewarding your body is such an integral part of your holistic well-being. Begin a gratitude liminal list, just noting 3 blessings each evening. It helps train your soul to see grace, even in difficult seasons. And finally, set one tiny boundary in an area where you've overcommitted, because boundaries create essential breathing room for recovery.
Building on that idea of the unspoken ache, what often follows is an even deeper challenge for many in midlife. This profound identity vacuum. This happens as external roles, parent, professional, partner, start to shift or even dissolve. You might suddenly find yourself asking, who am I now, if not that?
Exactly. Take David, the 52-year-old former CEO from the book. For decades, his identity was completely synonymous with his company. When it was acquired, he found himself with immense financial freedom but no clear role, leaving this deep void. He'd reached the pinnacle of his professional dreams, only to discover his ladder was leaning against the wrong wall, so to speak. His journey became a painful but ultimately liberating process of shedding that performance-based identity.
Conversely, there's Aisha, the 49-year-old Nigerian mother. Her life was beautifully defined by her children and community roles. When her youngest left for university, she faced an unexpected silence in her home. Now, this wasn't a crisis of regret, but more a moment of reevaluating purpose. She reconnected with long-dormant passions, like traditional Nigerian textile art, and found a new sense of self-worth and purpose beyond just her maternal roles.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly where Erikson's psychological concept of generativity versus stagnation becomes so relevant. In midlife, we often shift from, proving ourselves through external achievements to a deeper desire to contribute to future generations, to leave a lasting legacy. If we don't engage in this generativity, we can easily fall into a sense of stagnation and unfulfillment.
And that ties directly into shifting metrics of success, doesn't it? A 2025 survey of career changers found that 52% of employees are considering leaving their field, not because they're fleeing hard work, but because they're fleeing hollow work. Success, once measured by salary and applause, is clearly migrating towards meaning, flexibility, relational richness, legacy. Abbin introduces what he calls vocational holiness, this powerful idea about re-envisioning your work, whether it's paid or unpaid, as a sacred calling. It's about finding meaning not just in what you do, but deeply understanding the how and the why behind it, infusing purpose into every task.
This identity shift can feel like an identity earthquake. Abbin points to biblical stories like Jacob, who wrestled through the night until God renamed him Israel. It signified a dismantling of Jacob the schemer to reveal Israel the prince. Or Moses, spending 40 years in the desert, stripped of his princely identity so he could emerge as a prophet. Midlife wrestles are similar. Those long nights grappling with our inner selves, asking, who have I become and who was I truly designed to be?
And what often comes out of that wrestling is this powerful invitation to generativity. Your greatest identity might actually be found not in what you gather, but in what you give away. Your story becomes seed, and seed becomes legacy. It's about investing in younger generations, pouring into others.
We often tell ourselves these limiting lies about identity, don't we? I am my job. Forgetting Jesus was a carpenter, not just a savior, showing value beyond a title, or I'm too old to start over, yet the Bible tells of Abraham fathering nations way past biological possibility. Or if I slow down, I'll fall behind when Sabbath was God's first gift, proving rest isn't laziness but an act of trust. These are the kinds of narratives we need to shed if we're going to move forward authentically.
So how do we start that shedding process? The book suggests some really practical steps for rediscovering yourself. Like, schedule a half-day retreat from digital noise. Just allow time for quiet reflection before social media fills your mind. Conduct a life audit to identify which roles or achievements have become identity idols, things you've mistakenly built your entire sense of self upon. Engage in legacy interviews with younger people to see how your story and experiences actually nourish them. And try some creative experimentation. Revisit a dormant passion, not for profit, but just to check, what makes your pulse quicken. Here's where it gets really interesting. How does releasing these old identities open us up to a deeper, more authentic sense of self?
It's really all about the art of letting go. This is like a spiritual decluttering, releasing old beliefs, outdated narratives, maybe unhealthy relationships, even material possessions to create crucial space for clarity, authenticity, and purpose. It's a testament to actively trusting in a larger divine provision. And in this shedding, we embrace a profound paradox, strength and weakness. As we let go of self-sufficiency and acknowledge our limitations, we create room for a different kind of strength to emerge. Just like 2 Corinthians 12:10 says, when I am weak, then I am strong.
This journey inevitably brings us to what Abbin calls the mirror and the mountain. That moment when you look in the mirror, maybe after a significant birthday, and the sharpest sting isn't just the aging face, but that quiet scroll of unlived possibilities playing behind your eyes. Abbin defines regret as memory with an ache attached.
And research consistently confirms that unresolved regret correlates with lower life satisfaction. It's this existential grief that whispers, I might have been someone else, somewhere else, doing something that mattered more. But the book powerfully reframes this. Regret actually holds a hidden grace. It's not just about pain, it's a specific kind of pain that serves as a compass. It points directly to what you truly value, revealing the unlived life you might still have time to reclaim. It can be a catalyst for growth and wisdom, like the seasoned entrepreneur who channeled regret over neglected family into rebuilding relationships and mentoring others. His regret became fuel for a more meaningful life.
And then there's the mountain of pressure. Psychology today describes midlife like climbing a mountain. The ascent is obsessively focused on getting up. The summit often reached around mid-career, revealing this unanticipated view back down the slope. From that vantage point, you notice detours, wrong turns, maybe others on different peaks. The pressure mounts to be higher, richer, happier, published, promoted, perfectly fit. Unquote, okay. And social media just amplifies this pressure, right? Showcasing curated success when you feel winded just holding your own position.
This raises an important question. How do we shift from these external measures of success to internal ones when the cultural narrative is so strong, so pervasive? Well, the answer seems to lie in redefining the summit, seeking internal peace and spiritual alignment rather than chasing endless external benchmarks. Scripture actually offers honest mirrors for this. Think about Peter in his denial of Jesus, experiencing profound regret, or David, after his sin with Bathsheba, pouring out his sorrow in Psalm 51. Scripture doesn't shy away from messy human failure. Instead, it offers a path to redemption and healing through confronting these painful truths.
And what about aging? Our culture often promotes this anti-aging narrative, a relentless pursuit of youth. But the Bible offers a profoundly different view. Proverbs 16.31 states, "Gray hair is a crown of splendor." Abbin points to figures like Abraham and Sarah, birthing nations in their old age, or Anna, the prophetess, who recognized the infant Jesus in her advanced years. These individuals found profound purpose in old age, showing that wisdom, discernment, and a deeper understanding of God's character often ripen with time. They don't diminish.
To navigate these feelings of regret and pressure, the book suggests some practical exercises for letting go. The regret release involves journaling about your regrets, then writing letters to your past and future selves, transforming regret into a lesson. The what if to what now shift encourages reframing those nagging what if scenarios into actionable what nows, focusing on choices you can make today. You can also create a wisdom council. Imagine admired figures offering advice on your regrets. And engage in scripture meditation, focusing on psalms of lament that end in praise, like Psalm 13, to train your soul to find hope amidst disappointment.
Beyond those explicit regrets, many people carry this silent burden of unexpressed grief, don't they? For lost opportunities, unfulfilled potential, or the quiet death of cherished dreams. This unexpressed grief, when it's unacknowledged, can manifest as chronic sadness or emptiness. Our culture often discourages open expressions of grief, but the biblical tradition offers a rich framework for lament, a healthy, honest way to process loss.
And this often feeds into the myth of perfection. Midlife often coincides with the peak of societal pressure to have it all. Successful career, perfect family, impeccable health. This relentless pursuit of an idealized state can lead to chronic stress and feelings of inadequacy. The antidote is embracing grace and our inherent worth, recognizing that perfection is an illusion, and true fulfillment comes from living authentically, not flawlessly.
A powerful way to navigate this is to reclaim and rewrite your own narrative. We often live by unwritten rules, these scripts inherited from family, culture, or past experiences. But healing comes from recognizing that we are the authors of our own lives, under God's divine authorship, of course. Reframing past experiences through a lens of grace and purpose, and writing a new, more authentic story for our future.
Ultimately, freedom in this season really comes from acceptance, an active, courageous embrace of reality, our past, present, and future. This includes forgiving ourselves and others. As Jesus taught his disciples to forgive 77 times and demonstrated ultimate forgiveness on the cross, this practice is crucial for releasing the chains of the past and moving forward.
And cultivating resilience is so key. It's not just enduring hardship, but bouncing back stronger, adapting and growing. As Philippians 4.3 reminds us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This isn't about self-sufficiency, but a powerful testament to finding divine strength in moments of weakness.
Equally important is self-compassion, treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer a dear friend. Dr. Kristen Neff identifies 3 core components: self-kindness, being gentle with yourself; common humanity, recognizing suffering is universal; and mindfulness, observing emotions without judgment. This radical act of grace helps us quiet that inner critic and approach our journey with gentleness and wisdom.
This leads us right into the divine disruption. Life often unfolds predictably, then suddenly something shifts. A quiet unease turns into profound questioning. A dream loses its luster. A relationship falters. These unsettling moments are often, according to Abbin, divine interventions. Not punishment, but a powerful call to realignment.
Yeah, the book shares compelling examples. Sarah, a devout churchgoer, faced unexpected health challenges in her early 40s, forcing her to step back from commitments. What began as physical discomfort morphed into a spiritual crisis. Stripped of her usual roles, she unexpectedly encountered God in a new way, not as a taskmaster, but as a compassionate presence in her vulnerability. The disruption, initially perceived as a curse, became a sacred space where her faith was purified and deepened.
Similarly, Mark, a successful businessman, found his life upended by a sudden financial downturn. His company faced bankruptcy. The stress was immense, Mark was forced to confront his reliance on his own abilities and resources. This financial disruption shattered his compartmentalized faith, forcing him to his knees, leading to profound dependence on God and a reevaluation of his entire life's purpose.
These stories illustrate that divine disruptions are really about purification, not punishment. They are God's loving way of dismantling what isn't essential so that what is truly eternal can emerge. They force us to confront our idols and reevaluate our priorities.
And this process is often described as a wilderness experience in the Bible. Israel's 40 years in the desert, Moses in Midian, Jesus in the desert, Elijah under the broom tree. These weren't abandonments, but crucial crucibles. They dismantled false identities, cultivated dependence on God, purified motives, and clarified calling. They are universal archetypes of necessary periods of profound change. So what does this all mean for us? When these moments of intense discomfort arrive in our lives, how can we truly embrace them instead of resisting them?
We embrace them by understanding God's pruning process, that metaphor from John 15:1-2, where Jesus says God prunes not just the unfruitful branches, but also the fruitful ones for greater abundance. This pruning can manifest as loss of influence, shifting relationships, diminished capacity, or unfulfilled expectations. It's designed for refinement, not diminishment, ultimately to help us bear more fruit in our lives.
Ultimately, navigating divine disruption requires surrendering to the divine architect. This isn't passive resignation, but active trust. Listening to those divine nudges, releasing the illusion of control, embracing vulnerability, and cultivating patience. Abbin highlights that God is purifying purpose, inviting us back to our fundamental identity as a child of God, an identity that predates our resume and accomplishments.
This often marks a Kairos moment, not just Chronos. Chronos refers to chronological time, like minutes and hours. But Kairos is opportune, appointed time, a moment pregnant with divine purpose. Midlife is often a Kairos moment, a pivotal season where God chooses to intervene and invite us into a new, significant chapter.
And how do we anchor ourselves during these disruptions when everything feels unstable? Abbin points to spiritual disciplines. Prayer, scripture meditation, fasting, solitude, worship. They become essential anchors. They cultivate intimacy and spiritual resilience. They're not just routines, but intentional acts of communion that replenish our souls and clarify our purpose, helping us hear through the noise.
What feels like an ache is often sacred discontent, a holy dissatisfaction that refuses to be silenced. Think of Moses confronting Pharaoh, Nehemiah rebuilding Jerusalem, or Jesus challenging religious systems. This divine dissatisfaction is a powerful catalyst for profound change. It's the soul saying no more to the inauthentic and yes to a divine invitation.
And through it all, we are called to trust in the sovereignty of God, even in the chaos. Job's unwavering faith, even after losing everything, reminds us that, though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. Romans 8:28 promises that God works all things for our good. This frees us from needing to understand every single detail, allowing us to trust the larger narrative.
While painful, these challenges are not meaningless. Romans 5:3-5 reminds us that suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. This process refines our character and deepens spiritual maturity. The ultimate outcome of disruption is the unveiling of our true identity, shedding roles and performance-based identities to reveal our belovedness as children of God.
This brings us beautifully to rewriting the script. We often live by unwritten rules, don't we? Scripts inherited from family, culture, past experiences. By midlife, our soul often rebels against an inauthentic narrative, sensing a deeper truth stirring within.
Exactly. Consider Michael, the 55-year-old pastor from the book who people-pleased for decades, striving to meet his congregation's expectations, even when his own soul felt parched. His midlife crisis was a quiet unraveling. It led him to step down and rediscover a genuine faith rooted in his own relationship with God, rather than solely on others' approval.
And Eleanor, the 48-year-old artist who for years compromised her vibrant, unique style for commercial success. By midlife, the joy drained from her work. She felt like just another cog in the machine. She made a radical decision to return to her authentic artistic voice, creating for sheer joy, which became an act of profound self-healing and liberation for her.
These stories really highlight the tyranny of expectations, both self-imposed and external, that can lead to chronic disappointment and exhaustion. Shedding these old stories, narratives of inadequacy, victimhood, or being defined by past failures, is such a powerful act of self-liberation and growth.
Now, the Bible is just filled with incredible examples of script rewriting, proving God is the ultimate scriptwriter. Joseph went from victimhood in a pit to divine purpose as a leader in Egypt. Rahab, a social outcast, was rewritten into faith and lineage, becoming an ancestor of Jesus. Paul transformed from a persecutor into a radical apostle. And Mary Magdalene, afflicted by demons, was rewritten into liberation and became a primary witness to the resurrection. These are powerful human stories of radical transformation.
Choosing healing and authenticity in this season involves active choices. Cultivating self-compassion, setting clear boundaries, embracing vulnerability, practicing forgiveness for ourselves and others, and accepting imperfection. What's fascinating here is how these practices, along with things like self-care and addressing past trauma, they all work together to create an integrated, authentic self. It requires identifying and challenging limiting beliefs through maybe a 4-step process: awareness of the belief, questioning its truth, reframing it based on deeper truths, often biblical ones, and then affirming and acting on those new, empowering truths.
And at the heart of rewriting your story is the profound power of choice. While circumstances are often beyond our control, we always retain the agency to choose our response, our perspective, our direction. Deuteronomy 30.19 powerfully reminds us to choose life.
Cultivating a growth mindset is essential too, that belief that our abilities and character can be developed through dedication and hard work. It aligns beautifully with the biblical concept of sanctification from 2 Corinthians 3.18, the process of becoming more like Christ. It's about knowing you're not finished yet and embracing continuous development.
And for this new narrative to truly align with your deepest self and purpose, we need the art of discernment. It's the ability to hear God's voice amidst all the noise, to distinguish truth from falsehood, and to understand where your path truly lies. John 16.13 promises the Holy Spirit will guide us into all truth.
Finally, forging a compelling vision is crucial. It's about dreaming with God beyond your current limitations, identifying your unique contribution, your gifts, your passions, your story, taking courageous steps, embracing flexibility, and ultimately living a legacy-driven life. As Proverbs 29.18 wisely says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish."
Now let's talk about late bloomers and kingdom legacy. Our culture, particularly in the West, seems obsessed with early achievement, right? We're bombarded with stories of prodigies and young millionaires, making many in midlife feel like their best years are behind them, or maybe they missed their chance. But Abbin's book challenges this head-on, asserting it's never too late to flourish, that impact and fulfillment can bloom at any age.
Absolutely. Think about these incredible late bloomer examples from the source material. Colonel Harlan Sanders, achieving widespread success with KFC at 62. Julia Child wrote her first cookbook at 50. Laura Ingalls Wilder, her first Little House book came out when she was 65. Grandma Moses began her painting career in her late 70s.
And the list goes on. Vera Wang designed her first wedding dress at 40. Toni Morrison published her first novel at 39, going on to win a Nobel Prize later. Ray Krickrock built McDonald's into a global giant starting at 52. Samuel L. Jackson and Morgan Freeman didn't get widespread recognition until their mid-40s and 50s. Henry Ford created the Model T at 45. Dwight D. Eisenhower became president at 62. So what does this all mean? It means age is simply not a barrier to impact or fulfillment.
That's a crucial takeaway, because it's easy to look at those examples and think, oh, great for them, but I'm not Julia Child or Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
That very thought can be a limiting belief. Abbin highlights that from a kingdom perspective, this aligns perfectly with God's often counterintuitive ways. The focus shifts from worldly achievement to kingdom legacy, a lasting impact that contributes to God's eternal purposes, which often unfold on a divine timetable, not our self-imposed one. The examples aren't meant to make you compare your story, but to inspire the possibility within your own unique life.
And the Bible is just full of late bloomers. Abraham and Sarah were called at 75. Sarah miraculously conceived at 90, demonstrating God's power to begin anew at any age. Moses was called at 80 to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Caleb, at 85, claimed his inheritance with unwavering faith, still ready for battle. And Anna the prophetess recognized the infant Jesus in advanced age, still serving faithfully in the temple. Even the Apostle Paul had much of his most impactful ministry in his middle and later years. These stories are such a powerful reminder that divine purpose often transcends conventional timelines.
This really raises an important question. How do we cultivate a mindset that embraces this divine timing rather than resisting it and feeling like we've run out of time?
Well, we cultivate a legacy mindset, Abbin suggests, by intentionally investing in younger generations through mentorship, by stewarding our wisdom and experience to guide others, by pursuing new learning to stay agile and relevant, prioritizing meaning over materialism, and embracing humility. It's about letting go of the fear of irrelevance, understanding that wisdom, discernment, and spiritual maturity actually make individuals in their second half uniquely valuable for new purposes.
And there's a profound joy that comes from this shift towards contribution. Acts 20.35 tells us, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." This outward focus brings deep fulfillment that external achievements often can't quite match. Ultimately, it's about embracing an eternal perspective, living for what truly lasts, God's kingdom. As 2 Corinthians 4:17-18 says, "What is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." That changes everything about how we view our time and purpose.
Finally, we arrive at the new fire. After navigating the midlife wilderness, shedding old identities, confronting regrets, and embracing divine disruption, a new season dawns. Abbin describes this as a kind of rebirth, rising from the ashes like a phoenix. The scars become badges of honor, and joy flows from an internal wellspring, no longer dependent on external circumstances.
Cultivating this authentic joy involves things like practicing gratitude daily, which literally rewires the brain for positivity. It means embracing simplicity, decluttering your life physically, mentally, emotionally to create more space. It involves nurturing relationships, which are truly the cornerstone of well-being. It's engaging in meaningful work, whether it's paid or unpaid, that genuinely aligns with your values. And crucially, it's prioritizing rest and renewal, recognizing rest not as a luxury, but as a vital spiritual discipline essential for sustaining your energy.
And with that renewed joy comes this unwavering clarity. This is gained through consistent spiritual disciplines like prayer and meditation, seeking wise mentorship and accountability from others, engaging in reflective practices like journaling and self-assessment, and really embracing the present moment, allowing clarity to emerge right here and now, not just in some distant future plan.
With this joy and clarity, you can truly begin to forge a compelling vision for your next chapter. This means dreaming with God, imagining possibilities beyond your perceived limitations. It's about identifying your unique contribution, your specific gifts, your passions, your story, and courageously taking steps in faith. It involves embracing flexibility, holding your vision with open hands, allowing for divine redirects, and ultimately, it means living a legacy-driven life, where your daily actions become an expression of this new fire within you.
Okay, let's unpack this. This idea of the new fire sounds incredibly inviting. But how do we make sure it isn't just a fleeting spark, a temporary high, but a sustained radiant flame that continues to burn brightly through the years?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about the deep integration of mind, body, and spirit. A truly holistic approach, where all parts of your being are nurtured for sustainable flourishing. This new fire isn't just about feeling good, it's a testament to profound transformation. It's characterized by deep resilience, unwavering authenticity, expansive compassion, radical generosity, and a genuine spiritual authority that comes from lived experience. It becomes who you are, not just something you do.
And part of sustaining this fire is the profound power of storytelling. Sharing your journey, the breakdown and the breakthrough, transforms isolated personal experiences into a shared human journey. It becomes a beacon of hope and connection for others. Your story becomes part of a larger collective narrative.
And it's about embracing and learning to hold life's paradoxes with grace. Abbin emphasizes that this new fire isn't about eliminating challenges, but about living with them differently. It's the capacity for joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability, purpose and flexibility, action and rest, independence and interdependence. These aren't contradictions, but facets of a richer, more integrated, more whole life.
And finally, let's not forget the vital role of creativity and play. Making dedicated space for self-expression, for stress reduction, and just rekindling that childlike wonder is crucial for this new fire to burn brightly and healthily. And always seek the wisdom of the elders. Learning from those who have gone before is such an invaluable wellspring of resilience and insight. This journey through midlife, though challenging and often disorienting, is, as Anthony Abbin beautifully illustrates in his book, a profound invitation. An invitation to transformation, purpose, and deeper joy. It's really a testament to God's continuous refining work in our lives, shaping us into who we are truly meant to be. So if this midlife ache is indeed a sacred alarm clock of destiny, as the source material suggests, what new, entirely unexpected masterpiece might God be crafting with your life story, precisely because of the unique wisdom and resilience forged in this middle season? What is the one thing you can choose to release today to make room for that masterpiece to begin unfolding?